What is up everyone, Piscean here. In this video we are looking at Advanced Astrology Original Techniques for Genius Forecasting 2026 through 2040, a compendium of novel predictive methods, harmonic cascades, node resonance, fractal echoes, vectorial transits, epoch mapping. Crafted with Report Lab original techniques here, visual ephemeris, and let's get this video on. So here is a quick prefatory note and scope. This compendium presents original forecasting techniques developed specifically for the outer planet climate of 2026 through 2040. The methods are synthetic. They combine classical, Hellenistic, and modern psychological astrology with novel constructs. Synodic cascade analysis, genius node resonance, harmonic epoch mapping, vectorial transit scoring, and fractal historical echoes. None of these 5 core techniques appears in prior published literature in the exact form given here. All planetary positions and aspect dates cited are drawn from publicly available tropical ephemerides, KFA astrology, cyclical dynamics, and related sources. Interpretations and technique formulations are original. Astrology is offered here as a symbolic language for pattern recognition, not as deterministic prediction. Viewers are encouraged to test the techniques against both collective and personal charts. In this video, we are going to start out with the planetary climate and the outer planet stage. Then we're going to look at the first technique, synodic cascade projection. Then we're looking at the second technique, genius node resonance. The third technique is harmonic epoch mapping. The fourth technique is vectorial transient scoring. The fifth technique is fractal historical echoes. And then an integrated timeline and peak Jennings windows, application protocols, and worked examples, closing reflections. So throughout the video, I will be giving these surnames. So CCP for technique 1. G and R for technique 2. Technique 3, HEM. Technique 4 is VTS. And we have FEG for number 5. Okay. So beginning with the planetary climate, the period opens under a rare concentration of outer planet activity. We see Pluto's long residence in Aquarius, supplies a background theme of collective tech and social restructuring. Neptune's ingress into Aries, and Saturn's conjunction with Neptune at 0 degrees Aries mark a cardinal 1-point initiation. Uranus enters Gemini, remains there until the early 2030s, generating a prolonged trine to Pluto that peaks between 2026 and 2028. So major outer planet sign occupancy. We see the planet, the sign, approximate span, and key theme. So planet Pluto in Aquarius until 2044, collective systems, tech networks, and Neptune in Aries until 2039, visionary, pioneering, spiritual warrior. Uranus in Gemini till 2033, mental revolution, communication, and Saturn Aries till 2028, structured initiative and embodiment. So here's a snapshot configuration. From mid-2026, we see a Uranus-Pluto trine, and we see Jupiter at the cardinal axes. So approximate outer planet positions near the July 2026 Uranus-Pluto trine, and Jupiter-Neptune trine, Jupiter-Pluto opposition. So the simultaneous presence of a long Uranus-Pluto trine, as well as a Saturn-Neptune conjunction on the Aries point, and Neptune shift into the first sign creates an unusually fertile ground for both collective innovation and individual breakthroughs that later register as genius. The techniques that follow are designed to isolate the highest probability windows within the 15-year span. So the first technique is SCP. The synodic cascade is defined here as a temporally ordered sequence of major outer planet aspects in which each successive aspect inherits and amplifies the thematic residue of the preceding one. Unlike isolated transit lists, the cascade model treats the sequence itself as a single meta-event whose cumulative vector can be projected forward. See the core procedure. Identify all exact outer planet aspects, conjunction, opposition, square, trine, sextile, occurring within a chosen window, for example, 18 months. Then rank each aspect by cascade weight. So we see cascade weight would be planetary ring product multiplied by aspect potency, multiplied by proximity to cardinal world points. Construct a directed timeline graph. Edges represent thematic inheritance. For example, Saturn-Neptune conjunction sees a subsequent Uranus-Pluto trine. Here is an example for the 2026 cascade. So February through August 2026 forms a textbook cascade. We see Saturn, Neptune, 0 degrees Aries, Saturn, Pluto, and by the way, we can see Saturn square Neptune, 0 degrees Aries, Saturn sextiling Pluto, Uranus squaring Pluto, Jupiter squaring Neptune, Jupiter squaring Pluto, Jupiter sextiling Uranus. So the July 2026 cluster is a cascade apex. Historical parallels with Uranus-Pluto trines of 1921 through 22 coincided with transformative medical and archaeological discoveries. The present cascade has a Neptunian visionary layer and the Aquarian network layer. So here's a schematic of the July 2026 Uranus-Pluto trine with Jupiter participation simplified. We see Aquarius on the left, Leo on the right, and Gemini on the top. So the forecast application, we see 2026 through 2028 as a primary cascade window for breakthroughs in networked intelligence, biomedical innovation, and communication architectures. Secondary cascade peaks are projected for 2031 through 2032, Saturn-Uranus contacts, and 2038 through 2039 Neptune's later Aries phase. So the second technique is GNR, which is Genius Node Resonance. The lunar nodes mark the intersection of the lunar and solar planes, the axes of evolutionary intent in classical and modern astrology. Genius node resonance, or GNR, posits that periods when transiting outer planets form tight aspects to the mean or true north node, Rahu, or when the node itself occupies sensitive degrees previously activated by historical genius births, elevate the probability of paradigm shifting insight. So here's the method outline. Compile a reference set of natal charts of acknowledged geniuses across science, arts, and tech, for example, Newton, Einstein, Curie, Tesla, Da Vinci, Turing. Extract the longitude of their natal Rahus and any outer planet conjunctions to the node. Map the current and future mean node positions against this reference set. Identify echo degrees. Score transit periods when Pluto, Neptune, or Uranus aspect the node within 2 degrees or occupy an echo degree. Highest scores indicate collective windows when the evolutionary axis is most permeable to novel cognitive structures. In 2026, Rahu moves into Aquarius, aligning with Pluto's sign and intensifying the Aquarian genius signature. Subsequent node transits through Aquarius and into Capricorn later in the decade will reactivate different historical strata. The technique is particularly useful for timing research sabbaticals, collaborative think tanks, and publication of radical theoretical work. Third technique is HEM. Outer planet cycles can be subdivided into harmonic fractions. Half, 1/4. Harmonic epoch mapping, or HEM, isolates the 5th and 7th harmonics of the Uranus-Neptune and Neptune-Pluto cycles as carriers of genius frequency. These harmonics historically correlate with concentrated clusters of inventive patents, scientific papers, and artistic masterpieces. So for 2026 through 2040, the dominant slow cycles Neptune-Pluto sextile series that stretches across the entire period. The 5th harmonic subdivision of the sextile yields approximate peak years 2027 through 2028, 2031 through 32, and 2036 through 37. Overlaying the Uranus-Pluto trine harmonic reinforces 2026 through 2028 as the strongest multi-harmonic epoch of the 15 years. So here's the projected harmonic peaks. We see the epochs, and then I see the primary cycle, as well as the harmonic and the genius signature. And technique 4 is vectorial transit scoring, or VTS. Most transit work treats aspects as static angular relationships. VTS introduces a dynamic dimension. Each planet is assigned a velocity vector, daily motion, and an aspect is scored not only by orbit type, but by the relative closing or separating speed and the absolute angular velocity of the slower body. We see fast closing aspects between slow planets receive elevated weights because they concentrate temporal energy. A practical scoring formula used in this compendium is score equals aspect potency multiplied by orb factor multiplied by speed ratio and adding cardinal bonus, where speed ratio equals the sum of daily motions divided by mean outer planet motion. High score flag intervals when multiple slow planets are simultaneously accelerating toward exactitude, the classic signature of breakthrough pressure. Applied to 2026 through 2040, the highest vectorial scores, the cluster in mid to late 2026, which we're already in. And then we see early 2028 and mid 2032. And the fifth technique is FHE. So planetary configurations repeat in approximate fractal patterns across centuries. FHE systematically matches the 2026 through 2040 outer planet geometry against earlier epochs that produced documented clusters of genius, scientific revolution, late Renaissance, early 20th century physics, etc. When a modern configuration shares 3 or more major aspect relationships with a historical genius epoch, an echo score is assigned. The strongest echo identified for the present period is the 1920 through 1923 Uranus-Pluto trine era, insulin to Tutankhamun, early quantum development. A secondary echo links 2031 through 2033 to phases of the industrial and communications revolutions. The technique does not claim repetition of identical events. It claims an elevated probability of analogous cognitive and cultural leaps. So practical use, researchers may time the release of high-risk theoretical work or the formation of interdisciplinary laboratories to the peak echo windows derived from this method. Integrated timeline and peak genius windows, synthesizing the 5 techniques, yields a ranked set of collective windows. The timeline below marks the highest confidence intervals. We see composite genius window timeline derived from all 5 techniques, with the peak, cascade, final, harmonic, 7th harmonic, integration. From 26 to 40, we notice that there will be a lot going on between 2026 through 2028, a lot of global events. And then peaking again in 2031 through 2033. We notice that 7th harmonic being triggered, 2036, 2037, and the integration 2039 through 2040. And here we see the ranked peak windows with a rank 1, 2, 3, 4. We see the window. We also see the dominant techniques used in this video and a suggested focus. So here we have application protocols and worked examples for personal or institutional use. The 5 techniques may be layered as follows. Establish the background climate with HEM. Isolate cascade peaks inside those epochs via SCP. Refine timing with VTS, daily or weekly ephemeris. Cross-check against GNR for evolutionary alignment. Validate thematic flavor with FHE. So what collective example here is July 2026. All 5 techniques converge. We see a research collective might schedule a closed symposium or a high-stakes publication. Sprint for the 2 weeks surrounding the exact Uranus-Pluto trine and Jupiter simultaneous context. Individual researchers with personal planets near 3 degrees through 5 degrees of the fixed signs or cardinal for the Saturn-Neptune imprint are especially well positioned. The same protocol can be applied to natal charts by substituting the individual sensitive degrees for the collective world points, thereby producing a personalized genius forecast calendar for this window in these eras. So here's a closing reflection. The techniques presented here are deliberately original. They do not replace classical delineation. They extend it into a multi-layered dynamic model suited to a period of rapid outer planet reconfiguration. Genius, in the sense used throughout this compendium, is not merely high IQ or technical virtuosity. It has the capacity to perceive and articulate new organizing patterns that later become self-evident to the culture. Whether such patterns emerge in AI, biotech, material science, social organization, or the arts, we know that these next few years, they supply an unusually coherent set of symbolic supports. The methods above are offered as instruments for those who wish to meet that sky with deliberate timing and open attention. All techniques, formulations, and visual schema are original to this work. Planetary data derived from public tropical ephemerides. I'll see you in the next video. Piscean out.